either. I once wrote a proposal to SDG, I don't know, this Lagos State department on SDG. And I scaled through the first phase. And by the time I went for the second phase, we had to face some panel. And the lady I faced was telling me that my budget was too high. That's the major reason why I was rejected, because according to her, she can't explain how I want to do furniture for a school for 5 million. It doesn't, and because that was what they were offering, I zeroed my budget in that direction. But as far as she was concerned, it is not justiciable. So I lost out on it, even though I don't even know what they did with that project anyway. I'm not sure anybody got that Lagos State fund. So that's basically the little I can say for now.
Thank you so much. I mean, that was some of the things that you highlighted, aligning with their values, appropriate budget, realistic budget, the feasibility of your own projects. And those are like some key things. Thank you so much. So let's see. I see you're sharing. You wrote for 14 grants and you got awarded 4. That's quite, that's quite sound. Would you like to share what your experience was like? What did you do better with those 4? Why do you think those 4 applications were picked and the other 10, why do you think the other 10 was rejected? Do you want to share with us? Is Sunese still on the call? Okay. Yes, it is. So Sunese, are you here? We want to hear from you. So I can see your mic is muted.
Hello,
but
good afternoon. Hello.
Right. Good afternoon or good evening.
Yeah. In our organization, we write a 14 proposal. Out of that 14, we award only 4. We receive only 4 grants from our donors partners. We observe sometimes the partners, they are looking into the area that we need under the component of the proposal. The reason why I say that, sometimes we have an issue during submission of the proposal timeline, and also the content of the proposals, sometimes the budget of the proposal. After observe that issue, we sit down together with our staff and also look at the timeline, and also we look at the area that do
Hi,
donor concentrate on it, and also then you look at this. But now
so
hello,
we could not hear you at some points.
Hello?
Yes. Would you like to take that
Yes.
again? The timeline part. Thank you.
Yes, we observe that they have an issue. Sometimes they have an issue area that we don't need to concentrate on it. After we observe that issue, we sit down together with our staff and also leverage and look at these 3 components. We already now from 2023 to date.
Okay. So I don't know if it's just me, but I can't hear Sunisi anymore. Thank you, Sunisi, for sharing. I picked out issues with timeline, proposal alignment, yes. And since then, you guys have been able to, glitch more grants. So Olaide, I don't know, do you have grant writing experiences you'd like to share with us? Joy as well. Eniola, would like to hear from you. If you haven't written any, it's fine. If you have, tell us what the rejection acceptance rate was like, what you did well, what you think was missing. So who wants to go?
Hi, good evening, everyone.
Thank you.
Can you all hear me? I am.
Yes, I can, loud and clear. Thank you.
Hello, can you all hear me? Okay, Spain.
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
All right. Okay, so my organization, we wrote one.
We can't hear you.
Okay, so Olaide has some network issue. I see that network kicked her out. She's just trying to join. Does anybody want to share with us? Is Eniola here? Joy? Who else? Bukola? Yes, we'd like to hear from you while we wait for Olaide. And then we'll wrap it up with an experience from Folakemi as well. While try to see where our facilitator is. Eniola, grant writing experiences. We want to hear from you.
Hi, good evening, everybody. How are you doing today? And happy International Women's Day to all the
Yay!
women in here. Okay, so as regards grant writing experience, okay, I would say I had I actually have previous, or is it previous now? I have grant writing experience in different ways. Yeah, let me put it like that. One, when I was working as an employee for an NGO, one when I worked as a consultant for another NGO, and one when I worked for my own NGO. So I would like to take it from when I was an employee. I remember applying for different grants as an employee for an NGO. So this there are different parts of grants, and because I have to work with other colleagues, we tend to split the session of every grant writing. I come up with the ideas, come up with the budgeting and everything, and then the other team member try to do the research part of it, like the prevalence, this blah blah blah, and all of that. And then we saw that all the grants we've been applying for, we weren't getting them. Why? The big question was asked, and then we found out that the person that does the submission of the application, which is actually one of us, always at the end of the day changes everything to suit our own, should I say, belief or perception of what she thinks the project should be like or how it should be implemented. So after different people putting their work together as a team for and weeks and days of burning night candles to make research, putting project together, doing market survey, just to write a good project, a perfect one. Then we saw that at the end of the day, probably when it gets to the program manager, she tends to tweak everything um to to suit what she imagined the project was on, and we weren't getting them. So after we did all of those research, we saw that the things that are being submitted are different from what we prepared. So we told our employer that we that work on the project, on the proposals, would like to be the ones submitting it ourselves. We only jump on like a conference call like this, and then we pitch our ideas. Everybody drops their collective idea on the Google Drive, and then once the project is being compiled, then we submit. And to our greatest surprise, because there was teamwork, because there was transparency, nobody is assuming this was what the project was is supposed to be, or this was what is on. We got like two different grants, two or three at the same time, one on FGM, one on mental health, and I think one on GBV. Yes, before I left the organization. And what was the lesson learned? It is the fact that when the programs team or the finance team or the procurement team are working, it is very important that there is an alignment when you're working. You don't burn all the candles, do your research, and then submit it to somebody that probably have a different perception of what, it's a written document. We have different perception when we read things. So the person just wants to assume, and then that's one of the greatest lessons I think I learned when it comes to um, grant writing. If you're working collectively as a team, it is important that all of you work in alignment for the project. Then when I worked with an organization as a consultant trying to seek grants for them, one of the greatest lessons I learned on that is the fact that maybe as a consultant, you need to tread with caution. You need to be very careful because when you're writing grants on behalf of people, particularly for an organization, there should be should I say documents signed as to what your percentage would be or what you're charging for that particular write-up. So it doesn't be that at the end of the day you win the grant and then the organization get the funds and then your resources, your research, your data, everything just went like that. You weren't rewarded for the services you got. So personally, one of the important thing apart from writing international grants, um that I've been able to secure one, and then for normal seeking partnership with other NGOs, writing grants to private companies and all that. One thing I learned is we need to align with what their CSR responsibility is. I think somebody mentioned that she has been writing on health to a particular organization, not knowing their interest is on agriculture. So anytime I need to write for grants from any company or private organization rather to implement their CSR for them, I tend to research what their interest is on in order for me to work in alignment with them. And two, I tend to get every document I need to have because I think there are some grant application I've applied for, and after almost scaling through to the last phase, and some documentations are what actually dropped me. For instance, as at the time I was applying for some, my organization wasn't registered with CAC. And for some, let's say, because we didn't have proper EME documentation, M&E documentation, and then having, should I say, staff policy, organizational policy, some of these things are important. Even though it is not a big organization, we've been able to put our a year impact reports together. We've been able to register our organization now. So practically, there is no document anybody wants us to submit that we don't already have prepared. More like we are now operating like a big organization, even though we are not even there yet. We are barely 2 years in our functionality. So we've been able to put important documents together. And then thirdly, we've been trying to, should I say, seek grants from our immediate network. That is, we try to fundraise, we do crowd fundraising, we try to seek donations from people within our immediate environment, that is our church community, online community, and then people around us, family members, friends, because we've built trust over time. So because they see that what we say we want to use our money to do, their money to do are what we do with them, and we give them the report on how every penny was spent. I'll give you an example. I remember when we needed to okay, so a friend, my former employer actually recommended me for one grant that we got, an international grant that we used to implement our back to school projects last year. The referral was made based on trust. And then when the people that wanted to fund us came on board, the organization is not in Nigeria. They asked for our portfolio. So they were able to see that our social media page was up to date. That's Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and then Twitter. Unfortunately, this organization makes use of Twitter. They have social media presence on Twitter and I think LinkedIn. Our Twitter page was really nothing to write home about as at that time. But because we had social media presence on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn was what actually gave us the opportunity to win that grant. And then because of word of mouth testimony that they can trust us from people that referred us to them, then they could see from our previous from our pages that we are up to date. And then when they gave us a certain amount to implement the project, we told them, okay, you want us to do a big thing in a small way, that is not a problem. The money you gave us may not be able to implement as big as you people are putting it to. We don't mind adding our own money by raising funds and all that. And then they were like, okay, they extended the budget. For instance, let's say their initial budget was like $150. They were able to extend their budget to like $250. And then when we implemented the project, we ended up implementing around 300 USD, because, and we told them that there was price inflation around that time, and this is blah blah blah, because we've been planning like 3 months before the project was implemented. They didn't actually send the funds as at when the budgeting was made, and we didn't actually increase what's it called, we didn't include miscellaneous in our budgets. So it is also very important that we include miscellaneous in all of our budgets. So when there was price hiking products we needed to get, we told them about it. They said they couldn't stretch further. And then we did fundraising within our immediate environment, I mean community rather. These people our people donated. And then when we implemented the program, we had it covered in the media. We had media publications and all of that, and they were like, wow, we went as far as going beyond what they actually imagined. They saw the resources we got with the money, and then we gave them a breakdown of how every penny was spent and all of that. And they were even impressed to say, oh, okay, whenever they want to do their next CSR in any country in Africa, they will surely reach out to us. And we've been in contact ever since. So I think maintaining relationship, visibility is also something, and then pushing yourself out there is an important tool I think we've learned over time. And also sometimes we don't have to go around trying to chase the big names. There's nothing bad in chasing big grants, trying to get United Nations grant, trying to get WHO grants. But I think there are some grants that are small grants that we can actually sought after. And before we even get international grants, it is important we put our own money to use before we can actually secure grants. Because sometimes some of these funders would ask you, what has been the financial capacity you've done for any of your projects? For instance, let's say the highest you've spent your personal money or the money you've raised within your immediate community is around 100,000. They can't trust you with 1 million because you've never handled a project that is worth around 500,000, 700,000. So they might want to give you a grant of around 200,000, for instance. But if you've been implementing projects with your money or with people around you money and all of that, and you've been very transparent, reporting to the people that support you, anytime you have any other project, they'll be willing to support you. And the more you implement projects either with your personal money or you partner, and if you can't actually afford some of these projects, I would advise that you partner with other NGOs. For us at EME Foundation, we tend to leverage partnership a lot for majority of our projects we've implemented. We leverage partnership, and that gives us visibility. That shows that, okay, we are not doing it alone. When we are implementing a project, we are partnering with either one organization or two. Those two organizations are also posting it on their page, adding us as collaborators. We are having a wider reach. People from their page are following our page. So our social media community is also growing, which makes it a win-win for all of us. The people that are donating to support our project are also following our page and even sharing on their own personal pages that, oh, I contributed to this. People on their own social media end are actually keying into our project to say, okay, I would like to support anytime this organization wants to implement something, or they are also following us. So we tend to leverage partnership a lot. I don't know if I'm talking too much. I think I should stop there, and then probably I think basically those are some of the things we've also learned. Yes. So, and then is there any big lesson like a negative one? I would say yes. What the last speaker said earlier about budgeting, that you shouldn't hike the price of whatever it is you're putting in your budget. So I think I reached out to an organization recently, I think around last month or last 2 months. I told them I would like to partner with them. And then naturally, I could have left the proposal open without including the budget. But because for every proposal we do at our own end, we include budget. So we submitted the proposal with the budget to them instead of leaving out the budget parts rather. So when they saw the proposal, to them, they thought they wanted to fund everything on the proposal. So that was like giving them like a red flag already, not knowing we are telling them this is the proposed amount we intend to spend on the project. And then if your organization wants to support us with resources, more like human resource or souvenirs, that's fine. You don't have to fund the project. But because they got it wrongly when we submitted the proposal, that actually kind of like took their interest off the proposal, and then we didn't eventually get them on board with us. So later on, when we reach out to them on a personal level, so they were now saying it was because of the budget. So we now had to explain to them that no, that we are not expecting them to fully sponsor the project. We are just saying this is should I say an estimated cost from our end that we intend to spend on the project. And if you say you want to support us with material, that's fine. If it is human resource, that's fine. If you would like to volunteer, it doesn't mean you have to contribute a dime to support the project or anything. And they were like, oh, okay. So that was a big lesson for us, that next time we are meeting with a new organization, which is the first point of contact, it's not like we have a working relationship before, we tend to submit just a concept note. No budget, nothing, just budgets, just concept note, no budget breakdown or anything. And I think that was a big lesson for us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Eniola. Thank you for sharing that. And no, you were not talking too much. It was an entire master class. Considering that we had people who, are new to this. So I think this is the basic foundation until we have our facilitator. So I'm just going to take 2 or 3 more people, and would have to like call it an early night. Unfortunately, our facilitator won't be able to join us. She has an emergency. Yes, a health emergency. And yeah, so she won't be able to join us. But please do not leave. Let us conclude our conversation. If you did not have any experience from everything Eniola, Sinosi, and Stella has shared so far, I'm sure that you are getting 1 or 2 things that, even if you don't fully understand, can form basis for your next question. Like Eniola mentioned, concept note. You want to ask how to write like a concept note that is great enough to catch your what's it called, your funder's attention. You want to ask what are the things that should be, in your proposal, considering the many things that she mentioned that they had to do. So let me see. Susanna, hi, welcome, welcome, Sevo. So we are looking at, and okay, I see Bukola as well, and think EHG. So we're asking, have you applied for any funds? Have you tried writing for a grant? If yes, what was your experience like? Was your grant accepted, or were you given the grant, or were you rejected? What do you think, you did well at? What do you think you didn't do, great at, that maybe led to a rejection? What do you think you would do better if you had another opportunity? So we're just sharing our grant writing experiences. So who wants to go? Let's see who wants to speak. You can also chat, like you can drop a chat narrative if you can't speak. But I definitely want to hear from the rest of us. Right.
Good evening.
Good evening. Okay, great. Good evening. You have the floor.
Fine. I personally have never written a grant application before. I'm just entering this arena as a very, very new, fresh person. I don't have much idea on humanitarian work, NGOs, and what they do. So every experience I'm getting here is fresh and new. I'm working towards putting it into practice to see what the outcome will be for me. So that is why I'm very particular about not missing any class or session, so that I don't get to miss out on anything that is offered there for me to grab and utilize.
Awesome.
Yes.
Thank you, Susanna. That's so it's so great to know that you're open to learning, and it's fine that you haven't written any grants. Hopefully every other grant you write, you grab it on first attempt. Okay, so Eniola, your hands are up.
Yes. I would
Okay.
also like to add that it is important whenever we are applying for grants, we read the instructions. It is very important that we try to read the requirements. What are the things that are required of us? What and what do they need? For instance, some people would probably have their a template for their concept note, but because you don't know, you're emailing them. There are some instructions that they will say, "Oh, let your text be times is it Times New Roman? Font should be 10. It should be justified." All of those instructions and all that. Some will tell you after sending your application, copy so email. So it is important you read through every requirement, every instructions that is on their website. Read about their previous the people they are previously granted, giving grant to and all that. So all of these things are actually very important, because sometimes we don't read. We just want to jump on every application, not knowing that they are saying this application is only for registered organization, not knowing if this application is for social enterprise, not non-profit. So I think sometimes it is very important. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Eniola, for highlighting that. Yes, very. I mean, that's like the basic. Like you said, the way some people would actually request a concept note alongside a proposal, timelines, and all of that. Okay, I see two hands raised up. I see Falakemi's hand raised up. I see Olaide's hand. Mini, manimo. I'm going to allow Olaide quickly speak. Then Falakemi wrap up for us. Okay, Olaide, you have the floor very quickly. So that
All right. Thank you very much, Anu. Thank you very much, everyone that spoke. I just wanted to add, just chip in some information to. I just add to what Annie said. Basically, talking about documentations, yes, it's very important. I know Annie mentioned CAC registration, and I think there was one other thing that she mentioned, but there are other important documentations like your impact annual report, your CAC annual returns, all those financial statements. All of those information are very important. Definitely your concept note for the ones that actually request for concept note. And then I wanted to say that there are some of the organizations that they have their questions ready. So it's not like as if you're developing a proposal and you're sending it to their email. They already have it. Like the one we did last year. That was how it came, but it was just that at the end of the day, we were done with every information, but we realized that, it was the people that we're dealing with, they were requesting for funds, for some form of payment, and then we realized that was actually, that was a wrong, it was actually I don't want to say like a scam or fraud, but it was looking like that. So we had to stop. We finished up the whole thing, but we in fact we had even sent it and all of that, but we just left it. We just left it and we went. But some of the things that we learned there, was talking about like the budgeting, the methodology. Your story must be compelling. You must have your data. Your data statistics are very important, concerning the problem you want to solve, and then your organization capability is very key. Your experiences, the experience of the people, your team that's going to be working on the particular project is very important. Your the M&E, and also then what your sustainability plan is very, very key. Those are the questions, those are the things that the questions that they ask, mainly on the when you are writing your proposal. And just like what Annie said, your documentations must be ready. If you don't have those documentations, you need to get those documentations before you can even, start up your grant, your writing proposal and all of that, because at some point you will get stuck. At some point you'll probably not be able to answer, to go forward if those documentations are not, there. So basically, I think that's part of the things I wanted to add. Yeah. All right. Thank you very much. All right.
Thank you so much, Olaive. I mean, that was a very useful and insightful addition. Your team capability, your sustainability plan, just to mention a few things that you stated, very important, and having all your documents in place. Okay. So I'm going to hand the mic to Falakemi so she can share with us. If you still have any comments, maybe questions, I believe that we can also still trash the questions within ourselves. You can raise your hand or just drop it in the chat and we'll attend to it. Falakemi, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Anne. Yeah, so I believe that everybody has already said most of all the points. In fact, I really don't really have much to say, but I just wanted to add to what Ebun said and Olaide, then Mrs. Francis, because I remember that in 2022 when we applied for 2021 when we applied for a grant. And one of the things they asked for, because we're dealing with children, was our safeguarding rules. And I realized that most of organizations that I've worked with that deals with children, they don't really have safeguarding rules. And safeguarding rules is one of the documents that if you are really applying for a grant and you want to work with children, most of these organizations will ask for that safeguarding rules. They will tell you to present the safeguarding rules. They want to see how your structure is being in place. And I also remember that one of my friends, I think when she applied for grants, something that actually worked for me is that whenever I'm applying for a grant, I don't just do it by myself alone. I usually, talk to other nonprofit founder that I feel that they've won some grants in the past. And what I do is that I might just share with them, this is what I am trying to do. And at the end of the day, you get to see that by the time you talk to different people on what you are doing, at the end of the day, I remember when Olaide applied, like what she said, she had already finished with the application, but if she did not share with other people, we wouldn't have even known that maybe those people were fraudster or something. And another thing is that, okay, like what Ebu said too, we should always try to read. I remember this grants, pollination grants. A lot of people do apply for pollination grants. Pollination grants is just about $1,000. But if you don't read their instructions very well, you cannot win that grant. It's a daily grant. But at the end of the day, their instructions, they don't deal with paper. If you are going to have any programs that you deal with paper or anything, you're not going to win that grant. So they use this, the simplest thing to just disqualify anyone from getting that grant. Because most time when you see their form, you'll be like, oh, this grant is, the application is very simple. Like the one we won in 2022, the application is very simple. One of the things that worked for us was that we were able to go straight to the point. Now that there's ChatGPT, a whole lot of people might feel that, okay, I can answer this question, I'll answer it well because there's ChatGPT, but one needs to be extra careful because even with ChatGPT, you might not get the grant. So
one of the things that I actually always look out for is always the data. Even if I'm going to fill out a form and I'm going to write out the problem statement, the first thing I will look out for is the data. Let's look at the numbers before, before just putting in those words. Because if you are trying to prove to them that you want to construct a block of toilets in a particular school, you should be able to quote like how many percentage, by the time you construct this toilet, how many percentage, what kind of impact, what you need to be able to put the numbers there, the impact, like at least maybe like 80%. One of the things that made us to get the grant in 2022 for construction of the toilet was because we were able to state the numbers, like if these people, if we can, if you can give us the money to renovate this toilet, this is the issues, these are the numbers of girls that are out of school in this community, like the percentage. So data is very important when you are putting out that application. You need to have the figures in mind. Even if you don't have the actual figures in mind, you need to put it there. And another thing that international organization look out for is when you are trying to present pictures. I remember that when I drafted the safeguarding rules for for Dubu Charity, one of the things we added to the safeguarding rules is a consent form. So most of us go into the community and we take pictures. We don't ask for consent. One of the things we do before we start our programs is to let them know that we want to take your pictures. We want to do this. And if you tell us you are not okay with it, we make sure that you are not going to show in that picture. And our consent form is always filled at the end of the programs. So there are some times that international organization would ask for all these things, because when you are taking pictures and you are putting the pictures out there, I remember that one of the things we spoke about during Giving Tuesday conference last 2 years was storytelling, how we are presenting ourselves as Africans. And one of the things that the facilitator said during that program was that most of us, when we when we apply for grants, we present pictures like, okay, Africans are suffering, and we don't really need to present pictures like that. I understood from that conference that sometimes you don't, there are some people that they will capture children not wearing clothes, looking tattered and everything, and you want to put that picture so badly on your social media. I understood from that facilitator that that kind of picture can actually not make you to get a grant. So we need to be, we need to pay attention to some little things that could actually affect our application in the future. So let me leave it here. Thank you very much. Anu, over to you.
Sorry, I was just like enjoying the session. Like, so we had an entire masterclass. Thank you so much, for that. Having the right consent, getting your data ready, your style of storytelling. I mean, doesn't have to be from all the bad angle. Also, being able to define what the impact would look like at the end of the project. Okay, so Nancy also said that I noticed that the same partners are not transparent during the review of the proposal. Okay, I think this is debatable. Okay, Eniola, Bukola's hand is up. Eniola, I saw your hand. I don't know if you wanted to make a comment as well. So Nancy, it is. I
Yes,
think
I
it's
wanted to.
debatable. Okay, so Eniola, you go then. Bukola will speak after. You have the floor.
All right, thank you. I wanted to say something about ChatGPT AI, because it's good that, Ms. Folakemi actually mentioned it. A lot of people apply using ChatGPT. This thing, I don't know. I don't know how people do it. Because for me, it is easy, very easy for me to spot an AI content on LinkedIn or anywhere at all. Do you know why? I don't know if any of us that use ChatGPT here can take our time to read through every text. You see what's like unwavering, what's like, I don't even know. If you read a sentence, there you don't need anybody to tell you this is a ChatGPT statement. There is nothing bad with using ChatGPT. You can use ChatGPT to get inspiration, yeah? But it is important that you tweak those words to suit your own personal answer. You can write your answer, put it in any English, put past tense where there's supposed to be present tense or something. Then you can now give ChatGPT to review it for you. That way, your response to some questions are authentic. Because if you keep using ChatGPT to write proposals, I will tell you for a fact that it is the same thing, the same prompt you gave ChatGPT, other people are giving ChatGPT, and ChatGPT will give you the same answer. Literally, practically, it's like you asking Google, when is International Women's Day? The same answer it will give you is the same answer it will give another person. So it is now left for you to put your prompt well or tweak whatever answer um ChatGPT gives you, you rewrite them entirely, still leaving the content, or you answer it in your own local way and give ChatGPT to help you review it by rewriting it and correcting the punctuations and then every other thing. So it is important to please let's be careful with ChatGPT. Otherwise, the way you sound will be different from the way you write. And by the time you're being called upon for an interview to come and defend what you have written, it will now be like, how come you're not sounding as intelligent as the way you've put in it in that proposal? So please, let's be mindful. Thank you.
Thank you, Eniola. So the woes and the blessings of ChatGPT. Let's be mindful. Bukola, you have the floor. I see your hands are raised.
Okay, good evening. Thank you so much for the comments and advice, everyone. So I just wanted to say that I also have more like 15 a grant, so I've actually learned a lot from everyone that's spoken. So yeah, thank you very much. So I don't really
Hello, Bookie, we can't hear you. Anu, are you there? Okay. It looks like Anu is on the point mode.
Hi, good evening. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, better.
Yeah, yes, we can hear you now.
Okay, thank you so much. Also, I was just making a comment that I also have not written a grant proposal before, but I've actually learned a lot from everything that everyone has said. So thank you very much for dropping your bits for me.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much for the comment. Looks like Anna is no longer on the call. Maybe she's having network issues. But I just received a call from the facilitator. She said she's not feeling fine, that she has to go to the hospital. She had an emergency. So please, we're going to reschedule this class because she said we would have to talk around 10 when she's back from the clinic so that we can fix another date for the class. So sorry that we had to postpone. We're going to call it a night. Thank you all for this wonderful conversation. So we're Anu will communicate the new date to everyone. So let's call it a night, everyone. Thank you so much and good night.